Can you hear me? I want to tell you a story just briefly. I co-curate a reading series in Madison, Wisconsin called The Monsters of Poetry. And recently, a couple of my first year composition students came out to the reading that we had. And it was really amazing to see them see the reading, their first reading for the first time. I've been really lucky to be able to do things like this and to read again with the lovely Matt Hart and Kyle and Justin. Thank you for having me down. And I don't want to say I ever take this stuff for granted, because I don't, but when this young student of mine, 18 years old, first poetry reading she's ever been to, she came out and she heard Tracy Brimhall and Eduardo Corral read. And at the end of the night, her eyes were as big as saucers. And I said, "What do you think?" And she had this really long pause and she goes, "It's a new way of listening."
Nice.
And yeah, and I thought that is pretty amazing. So thank you all for coming out and giving us a listen this evening on a rainy Saturday in Texas. I'm going to read from American Busboy, but I'm going to start with a new poem called Announcements. This begins with a word from Dinosaur Jr. I feel the pain of everyone, then I feel nothing. No smoking on this flight, no snow globes allowed, no small brown bats or crickets, no drills or drill bits. We don't want you hitting any wall studs, no magic markers or Bruce Lee. Even the Little Mermaid is suspect, even the moonlight, especially the moonlight, especially the water you bought from us. This is the total bullshit that everyone knows. Plus, these windows will stay closed due to whatever. Row 37's cursed. So is Omaha. No push-ups or having sex in the aisles. Hey, I can't always stand what they pay me to say, and you don't deserve it, but there's still a lot of beauty here. So much we should touch. Please put those laser pointers away. If we lose only one engine, I'll recite a little fiction. You only lose what you cling to. We're just symbols after all, row upon row, then we'll keep blasting amazingly through. One thought over love it or leave it, conceal and carry shirts and skins and cash or credit. It's the big, full-throated, Midwestern quaking. Oh, these storms. Whoa, big fella. Our lovely attendants will see you then, our pharmacists and marshals. Oh, you husbands and wives, eyeing each other's husbands and wives. There's 50 ways to leave your lover. There's only one off this flight. Oh, my fellow travelers, I hope we can share this evening without showing our fangs, that we can love even the seat kickers and the inconsiderate bastards whose hearts also ache. And when we reach our destination, when the smoke clears and the door exhales like a ghost, look for the light. The last one off this plane cleans it. So, American Busboy, I'm from the East Coast, and I feel like I always have to say that when I worked in a seafood restaurant, it was not, I don't know what people picture, but it sucked. It sat 700 people, this restaurant. It had no air conditioning. Everything was served on disposable everything else. So it was a pretty much like non-stop, around-the-clock environmental disaster. And it was hard work. And one of the things that inspired this poem is this idea that while I was doing that hard work, no one ever would say, "Hey, how did you become a busboy? That's really interesting." As I've had fortunate other jobs like being a teacher and things like that, people say, "Oh, that's really interesting." And I kept thinking about how no one ever asked me that when I was a busboy. How do you become a busboy? It's because no one gives a shit. So I wanted to write a poem based on that. This is called National Flag Week. When the hostess comes out to apologize for the over-fried clams, she's doing her job, apologizing for disappointing fried clams, apologizing for fried clams that have underachieved, apologizing for fried clams that have lost their sense of purpose. It was determined the cheese slices stuck to the ceiling must have had their reasons. Generally, while they prepped your food, the cooks would be listening, unironically, to 80s speed metal. There was a locker room where your socks would go to die. There was a lobster tank where now and then a lobster would try to escape, but the others would drag him back. This isn't about the flawed democracy of lobster tanks, the sweaty dictatorship of the managers at the bar with toothpicks in their face saying things like, "You missed a spot," or the unacceptable conditions the green dumpsters worked under, wheezing blue fluid to the bay, where the tourist attractions were tourists who were attractions thanks to their shitty parallel parking skills. The new rich estates along the shore looked like cheap estates trying to look like old rich estates. On the bulletin board in English and Spanish were directions for what to do if someone was choking. If you were choking in another language, too bad for you. Still, there were times bussing tables when I felt strangely free, but no one asks how I came to be a busboy. It was the same way anyone becomes a busboy. Someone on the inside vouched for my character. This is called Prologue, and it's for Josh Bell. This poem actually was one of the poems that started this project for me. Josh Bell had given me a challenge to write a poem based on what Vince Neil's marathon training schedule might be like. Vince Neil was the lead singer from Motley Crue. So I printed out like a 24-week training guide and just filled in each day what I thought Vince Neil would do on each day. So instead of like running for 3 miles, it was like, piss on a statue, take some drugs. But when I started forming this book, I turned that into, and now that I think about it, the Vince Neil thing was probably better. So I don't know. This is for Josh Bell. It's Prologue. It's the first poem in the book that kind of sets up the problem for the busboy. When we failed to steal lobsters from a rival's tank, they made us eat fistfuls of tartar sauce. Bussing tables is a form of worship. The managers would be screaming, "Bussing tables is a form of worship," until we became abstract compositions, shocked into prepping the golden brown traps for whatever the hell golden brown traps prepared. On Label Day, they pierced our nipples for the monster triple shifts and made us understand our loved ones would never understand. But the training held certain rewards. For instance, the prospect of raining on the rude tourists a weather of coleslaw and fried shrimp, that our cod pieces grew more explosive each day, helped us believe in the mission. Our sweat-soaked shirts raised the waistbands of our polyester pants. Pulled down, we searched for the busboy, birthmarks born of the fierce chafing. With their Teflon hands, the managers might suddenly slap us. Those moments where death felt moments away, checking to see if we'd stick to the training, not call out the names of the ones that we loved, the loved ones who would never understand, testing to see if we'd keep bussing like each table was a voice buried alive. Many questions were served in the busboy training, like, could these new faces ever be removed? Could they ever be cleaned and serviced? And when finally it seemed nothing could touch us, we were wrong. Everything could touch us. And then the managers let us go. Can everybody hear me? Is everybody having a good time?
Yeah.
Reverence.
This is called Postmodern T-shirts. And it's based off I have to say this, is Corey Marks here tonight? Corey and I have a mutual good friend, Mike Tooney. And Mike Tooney and I once convinced another friend of ours that the Hanson Building in Bloomington, Illinois was named for the band Hanson. that ruse lasted an hour, and we stopped when that person started telling someone else, did you know that building was named for? Oh, shit. But it becomes a busboy poem. Postmodern t-shirts. In our city, there was a martini-shaped building called the Hanson Building. Basically, the waitress who had bought all the busboys' bullshit believed the Hanson Building was named for Hanson, the band. There were tourists with conflicting t-shirts. One said, "I fucked the girl from Hanson." Another said, "I'm with stupid." There was no resolution. But there was a story in this form of a baby who was also wearing an "I'm with stupid" t-shirt, except the arrow on that shirt pointed straight up. So it meant either the parents were stupid or God was stupid. Some of us were partial to the thought that made the baby a postmodern baby. The postmodern baby eating postmodern Cheerios in his postmodern onesie, totally not avoiding confusion, bogging down the pink-haired postmodern waitress who was still old-fashioned enough to eat beer nuts and read Moby Dick on break. She had a tattoo on her shoulder of a smoking starfish. I found myself watching it just to see it move, but that's nothing.